Behind Britain's poshest busybody lies a world of hidden details that most fans completely missed. Here are 10 things about Hyacinth Bucket that will totally change how you see this iconic sitcom. Fact 1.
Morning, Mrs. Bucket.
It's Bouquet.
I never knew that.
Trust me.
Hyacinth Bucket wasn't just a comedy invention, she was inspired by real people. Writer Roy Clark based her on a woman he knew growing up. She insisted on keeping up appearances in their tiny Yorkshire town. Her obsession with social climbing was legendary. Clark loved how she turned everyday life into theatre. Patricia Routledge took that spark and ran with it. She added little gestures like Hyacinth's perfect posture. The pearls were Routledge's idea too. They screamed, "middle-class ambition." Her voice was carefully pitched higher to sound more pretentious. Fans never knew how much subtle work went into every bouquet. Neighbours near filming locations would whisper that Hyacinths lived on every street. Routledge even admitted she pinched lines from people she overheard on buses. She wanted Hyacinth to feel painfully real, not just a caricature. This grounding made the character so believable. British audiences recognised their aunties, neighbours or mothers-in-law. Hyacinth's obsession with social status was timeless. That's why she's still loved and cringed at today. A single nosy Yorkshire lady helped shape a sitcom legend. Next time you hear "it's Bouquet," remember, someone really lived that life, and she'd probably correct your pronunciation too. Fact 2.
Impulsive Daddy. I hope he's not going to drive at speeds incompatible with my cut-glass condiment set.
Keeping up appearances was not the show's original title. Roy Clark's first idea was The Lady of the House. BBC bosses rejected it as too vague and dull. They wanted something that screamed British social climbing. The phrase "keeping up appearances" popped up in a rewrite meeting. Clark loved how perfectly it summed up Hyacinth's life. It meant lying, pretending, and acting posh, all in one line. Patricia Routledge instantly agreed it was better. She said the title did half her acting work for her. Fans immediately knew what to expect: status anxiety and chaos. The original pilot had Lady of the House on the clapperboard. Old set photos still exist with that working title. BBC archives show the name Switch came days before filming. It was almost scrapped for being too wordy. Producers fought for it, saying British viewers would get the joke. The phrase is still used today as shorthand for Hyacinth types. Fans say the title is as iconic as the character. Without it, the show might have faded into bland sitcom history. Keeping up appearances gave the show its sharp wit, and it still keeps up appearances decades later. A perfect title for a perfectly pretentious lady. Fact 3.
Oh, Daddy. Gone.
Patricia Routledge wasn't sure about Hyacinth at first. She was a respected stage actress and didn't want to be typecast. Comedy wasn't even her main focus before the show. Roy Clark had to convince her that Hyacinth was special. He promised her layers beneath the snobbery. Routledge read the pilot script and saw the genius. She loved that Hyacinth was ridiculous but also oddly human. Still, she worried about playing one character for years. The BBC offered her other roles at the same time. Friends told her Hyacinth would make her a household name. During rehearsals, she improvised lines that made everyone crack up. Crew members say her comedic timing stunned everyone. Routledge's decision to commit changed her career forever. Fans stopped her in the street shouting, "It's Bouquet!" She embraced it, knowing Hyacinth was larger than life. Looking back, Routledge says it was the best choice she ever made. She became Britain's queen of social climbing TV snobs. The role won her multiple comedy awards and endless reruns. She still treasures the original pearls she wore on set. Imagine if she'd said no. Hyacinth might not exist, and British sitcoms would have lost their poshest legend. Fact 4.
Do I sound like a Chinese takeaway? I am a highly desirable private residence in an area of outstanding natural property values.
Hyacinth's immaculate house is almost a character itself, but did you know it caused real problems in real life? The show filmed exteriors in an ordinary suburban street. Fans would flock there to snap photos during filming. Locals got tired of endless traffic and gawkers. Residents had to hide their cars to match the 90s look. Production crews sometimes knocked on doors asking people to move plants. Hyacinth's pristine front lawn was actually someone's pride and joy. After filming, tourists still showed up for selfies. The real owners put up private property signs to stop fans. BBC paid homeowners a small fee for the hassle. Some neighbours claimed they regretted agreeing to it. One family moved house because of constant doorbell rings. Patricia Routledge once joked she'd never live on that street. She called it Britain's busiest cul-de-sac. Inside, the real houses looked nothing like the show's sets. All the interiors were filmed in studio. Still, the exterior's perfect hedges became iconic. Fans love seeing the real street on YouTube tours. Just remember, behind the posh facade, it's a normal street, and the neighbours probably still hate the word bouquet. Fact 5. Hyacinth's car wasn't just for show, it was comedy gold. She drove a Rover to look posh, but it always backfired. The car symbolised her middle-class pretensions perfectly. She'd boast about it at every chance she got. Her husband Richard hated driving her around. Patricia Routledge said the car felt like Hyacinth's status symbol. It was cleaned more than their house was dusted. Fans loved how it would break down at the worst moments. Once, a filming mishap caused real damage to the Rover. Crew had to find identical replacements for continuity. Routledge always insisted she could drive it herself for scenes, but producers were terrified she'd crash it. The number plate is still iconic among classic car fans. Some superfans even buy replica plates that read HY11CTH. When the car was sold at auction, it went for thousands. Hyacinth's dramatic exits from the car were fan favourites. She'd pop out, fix her hat, and scold Richard for parking crooked. Even today, classic Rover clubs love showing off Hyacinth tributes. A simple car became sitcom legend thanks to one snob's ego. It's proof that even a dull saloon can be comedy gold, and Hyacinth would want you to admire the shine. Fact 6.
About time!
Hyacinth's sisters weren't just there for laughs, they revealed her secrets. Each sister showed a side of Hyacinth she tried to hide. Daisy was the messy, laid-back dreamer Hyacinth despised. Rose was the flirty scandal that threatened her respectability. Violet was Hyacinth's pride. She's the one with the Mercedes sauna and room for a pony. Writer Roy Clark loved using them to push Hyacinth's buttons. Fans never noticed how cleverly balanced they were. Daisy and Onslow's chaotic house symbolised Hyacinth's working-class roots. She hated visiting but loved bragging about Violet's fancy home. Rose's boyfriends made Hyacinth panic about gossip. Patricia Routledge said Hyacinth saw her sisters as proof of her social climb. She pretended they didn't exist when it suited her. Some fans don't realise Daisy and Onslow were audience favourites. Their scenes gave the show warmth and realness. Rose's romantic disasters inspired endless storylines. Actress Mary Miller, who played Rose, adored being the wild card. Each sister balanced Hyacinth's perfect image with chaos. Without them, Hyacinth would be far less funny. They showed she could never truly escape her roots, and that made her desperate for that bouquet perfection. Next time you watch, notice how her sisters keep her grounded. Fact 7.
You've seen the way he dresses. Does he look as if he wins on the horses? The horses dress better than Onslow.
Onslow was never meant to be so loved. Clive Swift, who played Richard, joked Onslow stole every scene. Geoffrey Hughes brought him to life as the laziest man in Britain. His beer belly, grubby vest, and car on bricks were iconic. Fans saw Onslow as the perfect foil to Hyacinth's snobbery. While she fussed about teacups, he watched horse racing in bed. Writers loved his honest one-liners that cut through the pretension. Even Hyacinth secretly feared Onslow's blunt truths. Geoffrey Hughes said Onslow reminded people of real relatives. He received fan letters thanking him for representing the normal bloke. The car on bricks outside Daisy's house became a sitcom landmark. Some superfans visit filming spots just to see Onslow's driveway. Onslow and Daisy's marriage felt oddly sweet beneath the mess. Their loyalty to each other balanced Hyacinth's coldness. Producers almost gave Onslow a spin-off series, but it never happened. Geoffrey Hughes once said he'd have played Onslow forever. British viewers love an underdog, and Onslow was king. He showed you don't need money to be content. He made millions laugh just by ignoring Hyacinth. Even today, Onslow t-shirts and memes still pop up. He's Britain's laziest hero, and we wouldn't have him any other way. Fact 8.
What a marvellous opportunity to increase our knowledge of local history and antiquities.
Many fans never knew Patricia Routledge is a trained singer. Before Hyacinth, she wowed crowds in musicals and opera. She even won a Tony Award on Broadway in the 1960s. The show rarely used her real vocal power. When Hyacinth sang, it was always hilariously off-key. Routledge said singing badly was harder than singing well. She had to forget years of vocal training to sound shrill. Crew members were blown away when she sang properly at rap parties. There's a clip of her real singing that stuns fans today. Writer Roy Clark said he loved the irony. Hyacinth dreamed of high society musical soirees, but butchered every note. It made her pretension even funnier. Routledge recorded real albums outside the show. She performed Gilbert and Sullivan classics to sold-out crowds. Many fans only discovered this talent years later. She never wanted Hyacinth to seem too polished. Her terrible warbling kept the character flawed and relatable. One producer begged her to sing properly on the show once. Routledge refused. Hyacinth had to be awful at it. That hidden contrast made Hyacinth's musical disasters comedy gold. And Patricia's real voice is still Britain's best-kept secret. Fact 9. Believe it or not, the BBC nearly gave Hyacinth an American spin-off. Producers thought her social climbing would work in the US. They planned to introduce a long-lost cousin from New England. Scripts were drafted for a crossover episode. The cousin would visit and clash with Hyacinth's manners. Patricia Routledge wasn't thrilled about the idea. She felt the humour was too British to travel. American test audiences found Hyacinth confusing. They didn't get why she cared so much about class. Roy Clark dropped the plan after lukewarm feedback. The US version was shelved forever. Instead, reruns found a cult following on PBS. Fans fell in love with the British quirks as they were. Hyacinth became a surprising hit with American retirees. Clips even went viral decades later on social media. The idea of a cousin spin-off still fascinates hardcore fans. Some wish we'd seen Hyacinth terrorise an American suburb. But maybe it's better she stayed Britain's snob-in-chief. Her uniquely British fussing just wouldn't be the same. And the Bouquet residence remains firmly UK property. Sometimes it's best not to cross the pond. Fact 10. It's been decades since Keeping Up appearances first aired, but Hyacinth's legacy is bigger than ever. Reruns still draw millions of viewers worldwide. New generations discover her on streaming and YouTube. Fans share clips of her chaos on TikTok daily. The "It's Bouquet" joke never gets old. Patricia Routledge still gets letters from young fans. There's even a stage prequel about Hyacinth's younger years. British tourists visit filming locations for Hyacinth tours. Merchandise like mugs and tea towels keeps selling out. Some superfans recreate her fancy garden parties for fun. BBC once polled viewers on Britain's greatest sitcom character. Hyacinth ranked in the top 10 decades later. Her fussiness inspired countless sitcom snobs after her. Writers still study her timing and catchphrases. No one does social climbing like the Queen of Bouquet. Hyacinth reminds us to laugh at our own pretensions. She turned middle-class panic into timeless comedy. Every cup of tea feels posher when she's on screen. And as long as people care what the neighbours think, Hyacinth Bucket will always be Britain's poshest legend. Bonus fact. Hyacinth's famous house is more than just a sitcom backdrop. Fans still visit the real Bouquet residence decades after filming wrapped. The exterior scenes were shot in a quiet cul-de-sac in Binley Woods near Coventry. The real owners never imagined they'd host TV history. During filming, neighbours had to hide cars and garden gnomes. Production crews repainted doors and hedges to keep the look perfect. Residents said curious fans would ring the doorbell shouting, "Is Hyacinth in?" Even after the show ended, the house became a quirky landmark. Locals sometimes sell Bouquet resident souvenirs to passing tourists. Some fans dress up in hats and pearls to pose at the driveway. The owners once tried to sell the house, but buyers were wary of daily fans. BBC paid extra for privacy screens during filming. Sometimes the street would be gridlocked with cars hoping for a glimpse. Tour guides still run Hyacinth-themed day trips in the area. Visitors love spotting the Royal Dalton with the hand-painted periwinkles vibe. The inside of the house was never used. All interiors were studio sets. But fans swear they can hear Hyacinth shouting, "It's Bouquet," at the window. Locals joke they live in Britain's poshest cul-de-sac. Thanks to Hyacinth, it's become a slice of real-life sitcom history. And as long as reruns air, fans will keep knocking on that door. The real Bouquet residence proves Hyacinth's world is more real than you'd think.